Met me. My name is Deborah Kaczmarek, and I'm from the Center for Access and Accommodative Services, and they refer to us as the CAS because it's a mouthful to say the whole name. So for short, we're called the CAS, and we provide accommodations for students on the campus. So we had some requests of things that people were looking for us to maybe cover, so we'll see. Any student who has a documented medical concern, condition, or disability, or both, they have the right to request an accommodation. So I'm going to run through very quickly what that process is, because that's really not the meat of what I want to talk about today. But they fill out our confidential data form. It gives us general information, and it tells us what accommodations do they think they need to be successful. And then after we review their records, we send them an invite to attend a training on those services. So they don't get their services till they've been through our training and they are told how the services work. We also give them a handbook. I put some handbooks on the table. If you want one, you may have it. We're soon to update it. I'm waiting for it to come from the press. We're updating these handbooks. The information will not be much different. But sometimes it helps you to know what the accommodations are, what we tell students, and how they work. So once they come to the services training, they then have activated their accommodations. Every semester, the student has to renew their accommodations or reactivate them for that semester. So they're given this card. It looks like an ID card. The front is their name, and on the back are the accommodations that that particular student has been awarded. We can't give them an accommodation if we don't have a documented something to tell us why they would need that accommodation. So you can't just say, well, I really need this. Well, if there's nothing in your documentation to support that, I can't give it to you. So they come by every semester. We tell them, the day you register, come fill out the form and bring us your card, and we'll put a new sticker on it. So you as faculty will see this card. They're supposed to say, oh, see, I have this card and I have these accommodations. So you can look at that, and it should have a sticker on it for that current semester. And if they don't, you say, oh, you better go to CAS and get that sticker on here because it's not up to date, So that way they'll come to us, and then that way we can document that they have them. And if anything changes, we would make them a new card. Sometimes things do change. Maybe a condition changes, maybe a medical status changes, maybe the disability of some type, and then they'll bring us new medical documentation or psychiatric or some other kind of documentation we might use to provide an accommodation. There's services that they have in high school we don't have here. It's different. So we have students that come here with various backgrounds, and it's good for you to know that, because sometimes students come here, they forget they left high school. This is college. It's different. So they may have been in a self-contained classroom. They were given altered assignments. They have been, it's a whole different grading system. So special ed A could be different from a regular A. They were possibly not prepared for college because that high school didn't think they were going to continue that. Maybe they were going to go somewhere for job training and go to a job. They didn't have to be independent. Someone told them every day, this is what you do now. Oh, and if I was, now you're going to do that, and now you do this. So they weren't prepared to be independent. So when they get here, sometimes they're not. Some are. We have students here that maybe they just have dyslexia, or maybe they have a medical problem or a mental health issue, but they function just like as well as all of us. They just need some extra time when they take a test. But we do have those students who do leave high school that have a very low IQ and poor achievement. And those are students that are in this category. They're in special ed. They weren't able to do the regular work as everyone else. They may have been homeschooled, so they may not have developed the best communication skills, maybe. Not all homeschool people have that problem, but some do. So they don't know how to speak up for themselves or advocate for themselves, and they may tend to be a little more shy. They don't deal with stress very well. Okay, they're apprehensive about new experiences. Okay, involved parents. So we have parents that are so involved that the student never had to speak for themselves. They never had to learn to advocate or to say what they need because mom was right there to say it. But when they get here, they're not allowed to talk to faculty. They may have want to, they may approach you, but you're gonna have to tell them, oh, I'm sorry, but I can't speak with you. Technically, if the student sets up a meeting and brings the parent with, then you can speak with them, but I certainly wouldn't be inviting this. You may have this in your office or your classroom every day. So, we have people with all these other situations that come to our school. Struggle with severe medication, or medical conditions, struggling with new medical conditions or disabilities, brand new. Something, they fell and broke their arm, they just need someone to take notes for them. Oh, no big deal. But sometimes it's something more involved. Maybe they now have cancer, now they're going through treatment. It could be so many different things. Have short-term memory issues. They have a new head injury, and now short-term memory is an issue. Okay. Communication difficulties, maybe from a stroke. Okay. Struggle with anxiety, low IQ, poor academic success, low self-esteem, or inflated self-esteem. I'm going to take 6 classes every semester. I'm going to be done in here in about 2 semesters. So sometimes they're not realistic. So people come to us with all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of things happening in their lives. They're a whole person that comes to us. We see it all. We get that person as they are. So to help you with some of these other things that people come up with, like and say, what do I do with this? So you have to know when the student brings their parent to the classroom, this is not a time for you to stop what you're doing to talk to the parent or to delay your class from starting to talk to the parent to discuss Johnny's whatever his thing is. Nor can they ask you to, oh, email me, I want to know what his homework is and this and that. He needs to really be able to do this himself now. Parents do sometimes send the email as if they're the student. How do we know? We don't. We don't know if it's a student or them, but we answer the email, right? So they have to learn to be independent. When we see this at the CAS, we do get to talk to the parents. They can talk to us. And we tell them, I really know that she can do this on her own. She really needs to know how to learn to advocate for herself. We'll help her with this and have her learn how to communicate on her own. So we do tell students, see the instructor during office hours or such, but some of these things are going to come up in here and some of these things. So the student who needs constant assistance. And, in fact, their hand is up every time I say something. They want me to repeat it 2 and 3 and 4 times, but now I'm running out of time in the class to cover what I need to cover. So some of the ways you could handle this is speak with them alone and explain that you have to cover a certain amount of material in class and that you can't answer every one of their questions. Okay? But tell them, hey, why don't you stay during my office hours, or why don't you go to tutoring? They can help you with that. So if it's something tutoring can help them with, send them over to tutoring. And then please refrain from putting another student in charge of them. And that has happened. So you have another student who's in the class. They're there to learn themselves. They did pay for their class. We can't say, oh, would you please be in charge of this person and make sure they're doing what they should do, or re-explain everything. It's not that other student's job. So do refrain from putting someone in charge of them, because it's not fair to that other student. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm going to go on way. Okay, so interrupt other students or lectures. We have students that tend to do that. We have a lot of students on the campus that are autistic or on the spectrum of autism, and sometimes they don't understand that they shouldn't be interrupting, just blurting out. And it happens. So we have to help them to learn how not to do this or how to appropriately ask questions, right? So you suggest that they keep a pad of paper at their side. And when you can't call on them to answer that question, they're going to write that question down, because later, during office hours, maybe after class if there's time, they can ask you those things. So they're not constantly blurting out, interrupting the lecture, and other students are rolling their eyes. She just said this. So you can just say, keep that paper by you. And then we can talk about that later and answer those questions for you. So I'm going to call on you when I can, but sometimes they have to answer other students' questions. So it's a learning, it's a teaching kind of thing. Should they come to college knowing this? Probably, but not everyone does. So sometimes they want to give all the answers. They know it. That's wonderful. But you tell them, I got to hear from other students, because that's give them grade 2. And I just need their understanding. So I'll call you sometimes. I'm not going to call you every time. And don't say the answer. I want to see if the other students know true. So sometimes it's true. They do know. They've studied hard. They're proud of this. So they're going to show it to you. I know it all. Okay, so disruptive behavior such as self-talking, blurting out, poor personal hygiene. Please meet with them. Explain to them, yeah, before you come here, make sure you take a shower. It's a good thing. Brush your teeth and you come here so that people want to be around you. And talking to themselves as you're lecturing, other people can't hear you. Did you know that you are talking to yourself? That's lazy. So you can think it, or you can write it on the paper, but you can't be saying it. So sometimes they don't even realize that they're doing this. Okay, it's a habit that they've formed, and they just were never taught if they're doing it and how to stop doing it. So you have to kind of take a look at this history maybe of a person. Here's a parent, right? We're going to have this child's going to be born soon, and the doctor says everything's fine. This is going to be a born perfect person. And after it's born, you find out something's wrong. Sometimes the first several years of that child's life, the goal is to keep them alive. Some of them are going to make it. They might not. We don't know. The parent is fighting to keep this child alive, right? Okay, now they're alive. Okay, we know that they're okay now. That's good. But now they have these issues. So they feel bad. They have to do everything for them. They forget to help them grow up. They forget to grow them up. So, here's Johnny. And Johnny's behind her, and now we talk. Well, how does Johnny learn communication skills? He doesn't, because he's never involved like other people are. So he doesn't get that practice how to communicate, how to advocate for himself, how to appropriately behave. So that's where some of that comes from. Doesn't make it okay, but it kind of gives you a background. It might help you to understand maybe where they're coming from. Remember, this is a small portion of the students that we serve. The students that we serve, they're geniuses. Some of them are very bright people. You'll never know there's an issue. They just might need that extra time. Or they might need to use our note-taking software that records that lecture, and they can mark it. It's called Sonasent, and it's unbelievable. So if they have the accommodation that they're allowed to tape record, it records the lecture. They're not allowed to share it with any other students or put it online. But as the lecture goes, there's certain buttons assigned. So if I push this button, oh wait, I'm going to mark this. This is information for the next test. He said to study this. Whoop. Okay, when I go home, I say, hey, give me all the information that I marked for the next test. Just that comes up. Oh, give me the information for the assignment. Push that button. Oh, that comes up. I don't have to weed through the whole thing. It's a very nice software. Some students are allowed to have that. So, but they do fine with everything else. So, it's not every student that we serve has all of these issues. So we talked a little bit about parents, and the only people allowed in your classroom are paid students, or staff, or faculty member. We do not send caregivers to your class, aides to your class. We do not have those here at all. Now, maybe someone has a caregiver. It could be mom, it could be someone else. They are allowed to come here, help them get into your classroom, set them up, and wait in the hall. After class, they can come and retrieve them. They may not sit for your class. This brings many, many problems. And we've dealt with this in the past, and it changes the whole makeup of your class. Because after a while, all of a sudden, the caregiver is raising their hand. Can I take that test too, just to see if I know? We don't want to invite that. So it just changes the whole makeup of your class, and it stifles other students in your class. Especially if you're going to be sharing personal experiences and things. Those other students are feeling like, this is other person, I don't feel comfortable. Okay? So, if you run into any issues, what do? You call us. You tell everyone that. Call us. We'll help you. Okay? Arriving late to class. Students need to set up their schedule, and they can't see running up. My other class is 2 buildings away, and I'm going to be late every day because I just can't get there fast enough. You know what? They knew that they had this problem, so they should have set their classes further apart. So they need to be able to be in class on time. whatever your policy is, whatever you set it up, too late to make an absent or whatever, you don't come in after the time, I don't know. But whatever your policy is for everyone is the policy for them. They have to follow the same rules. Okay? So sometimes they'll say, but I got different homework. Yeah, I had extra time on homework at night. In my high school. We don't have that. The homework's due, it's due, just like everybody. We don't give you less math problems to do. It's the same for everyone. So the big thing is you better look at the syllabus. I teach elsewhere. It's a university, and they don't read the syllabus either. Really? In the syllabus. Look at that. I spelled it all out. So it's not just these students. Students in general, they don't really read it. I don't know why. It's very interesting reading, I think. I wrote it. Oh, I'm just kidding. But anyways, so we bring a test to us or send us a test for one of our students to take with the accommodation. You can't give them the extra time in class, really, because you have to go on to lecture, or you've got to get out of that room because the next class is going, or you're going to another class to teach. So normally people send a test to us for the students to take at our department with their accommodation. So you always have to send every test, every quiz with one of these testing forms if you've never seen it. You're telling us how much time you're giving the class. We'll apply the accommodation. So don't apply the accommodation or you're getting double. Okay? But on here you tell us when that test needs to be taken by. And students should know that. All right, I want you to have this test taken by tomorrow, by the end of the day. Whatever date you put on here, that test taken or not taken, it's sent back to you. Because it's your test, it's your class. You don't have to give them 2 extra weeks or any of that. Sometimes it's a night class. And we're not open at night. We're open till 6:30. We open at 8:30. So if it's a night class, that student will either come in early to take the test before class, or they're allowed to take it tomorrow. Okay, you work that out with the student yourself. But that's how that works. So they may have had extra weeks or days or something somewhere else, but you get to say, hey, I'm gonna review all this. Class was on Monday. I'm gonna review this on Wednesday. I want you to get this done by Tuesday evening, so I can get it and grade it, and then you get it back when everyone else gets it back. So if you have any comments or questions, just stop me anytime. I don't mind. So additional time for homework is not an accommodation. If you allow other students that, then you allow the student this too. But they have the same rules as everyone. Mm-hmm.
So what if you identify a student that is struggling but does not have any accommodations that you know of? Should we? It sounds like we don't do any diagnostics, but we're here. Yeah. So what's the steps that we can do to help them?
Yeah, and that does come up fairly often. You'll see a student when they have any account, you can ask them, without other students around, saying, do you have any accommodations on your campus, or you seem to be struggling? Have you always had difficulty with this type of subject? They might then say, oh, I had something in high school. You can't ask them if they had a disability or medical concern. You can't ask that. But sometimes that leading question of, oh, have you always struggled with this subject? They'll go, oh, yeah, I had this. But if not, say, I know that CAS has some things that help a lot of people, and we do. We have certain things that anyone can use. You don't have to have a documented disability. So, for example, the Kurzweil reading software. It allows me to take pages out of my book or a handout, scan it, it comes on the screen, and then it reads out loud to me. So I can put my earbuds on, my headphones on, and it reads. I have so much reading, I'd rather listen, or I like to see it and hear it, I remember it better. Anyone can use that. So it's located in the library, and it's also located in ETRC below the library. That's for general use, for homework. Now, some students have that as an accommodation, and they get to use it on their test. So that's for anybody. And that might just help that person. But otherwise, if they say, oh, yes, I don't know, the CAS may have something to help you, why don't you go see them? So that way you're not asking the question, do you have a disability? Do you have a medical something happening here? Because we really can't ask that. But you can certainly say, go see them and see what they have. They may have something that can help you. And sometimes we just have like study techniques that we can offer people and say, why don't you try this? This could make it easier for you. So we have some things that we can offer just anybody. And sometimes self-confidence is a big factor. I've had people come into me and say, oh my God, I've got to take this placement test, and I don't know, I think I might need more time. Oh, okay, well, we get to ask the question of, did you have something in high school? Do you have a disability? Do you have a medical? I don't have any of that. Oh, well, I'm going to tell you what, this is how it works. I tell them all about the placement test and how it's going to work. I said, tell me, how were you in high school? What did you do in high school? What was your grade point average? What was it? Oh, you did so well there. I just know you're going to do good on this. So we feed them some self-confidence and send them off to the test. And every once in a while they come back and go, I did it. I did good. Wonderful. So sometimes all we have to offer is some self-confidence, But so if a student does come to us, we can explore with them and say, hey, have you ever had this, that, or the other thing? Explore, is there a medical something happening, some kind of learning disability, maybe a mental health issue, and we can explore that in our office and then get the documents we need. It takes about 2 weeks from the time they give us everything, because we have to review everything and then get them in a training. So depending on how quickly that student can bring us what we need, is sometimes they take a form to their doctor or their psychiatrist or get records in high school. And so as quickly as they can give that to us, the quicker we can process it, get them trained, and have accommodations. So it's always good to send a student to us if they are really struggling. And there's a piece on here on that too, yes.
Do they have to identify themselves as students with disabilities and try to?
Yep. From our department, we can't go look for them.
And when they do, they are required to inform the instructors, right?
If they want to use their accommodation. So let me explain that. So let's say Mary has the accommodation of extra time and note takers. But she says, oh, God, this class, I'm really good at this class. I don't want my accommodation. As much as she has the right to have an accommodation, if she can bring us documentation, she also has the right to say, I don't want it. So on your class list, and sometimes they're not there for a little while, if you pull your roster every now and then, in that column of cast, you see an X next to someone's name. That means they have something. You don't know what it is, but you know they have some kind of accommodation. You could say, it looks like you might have an accommodation at cast. Do you want to use that? And they might say, no, I don't need it. I don't want it. Okay. Because, if you have an accommodation, it doesn't go on your transcript. The faculty, we cannot disclose why they have the accommodation. So it makes it easy for them to want to use it, and sometimes they don't. I want to try on my own. Okay, just like your question of, well, you see this person struggling, they may have just come here from high school and said, I'm going to do it myself, I'm going to try it. So they're trying, and now they're struggling. So, then you talk to them. And yeah, they do have a disability of some kind. But they didn't want to disclose it. So they have the right not to disclose to us as a school, but then also decide, do I want it for all these classes or do I not? Do I want it for some classes, not for others? I want it for math and science, but I don't need it for English, it's easy. Okay. So it's kind of our job as community colleges in many ways is to prepare them for the university where they're going to have to advocate for themselves and for work. Some of them go from here to a job, and they need to know how to do those things.
Mm-hmm. And then if they have those accommodations and decide they don't want to use them, they can reinstate them at any time?
Oh, yeah, they can.
Okay.
But, so now let's say it's halfway through the semester. Oh, you know what, I have these accommodations, don't want to use them. And so at that point forward,
Okay.
Oh, you can't go back now.
Okay.
Oh, but I didn't do good on that last test, and if I just had extra time, say, yeah, I know, but you know what? You can use this accommodation on the next one and forward, and you're going to study hard, go to tutoring, so you can do well.
Okay.
So we can't go back. And, we explain that to them. And some people, sometimes you don't blame them, they just really want to try. And we had a student here a while back who had severe brain injury. Very intelligent person, but a severe brain injury. And he medically got better. He was well enough to be out and about and doing things. His family said, okay, he wanted to go to school. It's okay. They wanted him to audit everything. Why? Because he took one class at a time. They didn't want the pressure on him to have to pass, get the grade. So he audited. He paid the same price, but he audited, and then after a couple of years, he was ready to now take them for credit. And it worked for him. So for him, it worked very well to audit and not take it for credit because the pressure and the stress would have been too much for him. And he struggled with many problems from that. So it's this thing about not turning in assignments. Remind them once, and then say, you got to get them in on time. It's all on the syllabus, or I announce it, or what have you. But I'm not going to come at you and say, where's your homework? Where's your homework? We don't do that in college. So you have to get it done on time. Otherwise, you're not going to get the points. You could fail. Struggle with learning new vocabulary and spelling. So index cards, I know we've all done this, but the way we were taught does not work. So here's your index card. Every card must be the same. I picked white cards. All my cards have to be white. I'm using the side with the lines. Every card I'm using with the lines. I use blue pen. Every card is a blue pen. If you think about the way the human brain works, it likes color. So therefore, the brain will cheat also. Oh, wait, that card. I know, yeah. The answer was on a color black ink. Yeah. So don't even bother. So this is how I explain it. So you write the word here. Oh, on a different card, in your own words, write the meaning. It's hard to remember what the author said, his words. No, your own words, what's the meaning? Now, on the back, this is out of chapter 3. So I put CH3, chapter 3. I want to know where this word comes from. And then this is the first card I'm making, so I put a number sign and a 1. And on the card with the definition, on the back I write the same thing. See, they're a pair now. 1 and 1, same. 3 and 3, that's the same. So now I'm learning these words by writing the word and writing the definition on the other card. I'm identifying it by it being what first, second, third card I'm making, and the chapter comes from. So now I can test myself. I can put all these cards out and with the words and all the meaning cards. I'm going to see if I can match them. Because this, oh yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, that's right. You can't test yourself. So you lay them out and you can test yourself every day. Now I ask them, why do you get shoe boxes with your shoes? So you can put your cards in there. Yeah. The cards go in the shoe box and keep them nice and neat. You don't lose them. And you put a rubber band around chapter 1, 2, 3. Because when midterm's coming, you can practice these words. So it's a nice way of them being able to test themselves and practice these words every day if they want to. So that's why I sit in the library doing it. I'm like, yes. So they can't learn to spell. They have to be able to spell these words properly, especially like nursing. Well, teach them in a rhythm. So I have a kid, he comes to me and says, I can't spell apple. I just said, I don't know how to do it. I go, this is how you spell apple. It's like this, see? A-P-P-L-E. No, this is how you spell apple. Come on. So then when he's 50 years old, he comes back and says, hey, by the way, remember how to spell apple? He goes, yeah, A-P-P-L-E. Sometimes they tap it out, too, A-P-P-L-E. See, it's a rhythm. We also like rhythm. We like music as humans. So see, we take what works, what our brain likes, and we use it to our advantage. So there's a little tricks that can help some people. Plagiarizing. There are students in special ed that do not know even what plagiarizing is. So I had a student who did plagiarize in an English class, and he was kicked out of the class. He didn't know what he did wrong. Oh, the teacher said I plagiarized. Do you know what that is? No, I don't know what that. Because he was taught what it is. In special ed, here's the question. Find those words in the book and copy that. So kicking him out of the class might make the faculty feel better, but it didn't teach him anything. He did not learn that was good. He did not know what he did. So we had to teach. Okay. They may not be able to apply the concepts of what they read. Because, you know what? The high schools tell me, Deborah, everyone who leaves here gets a diploma. Everyone. We do whatever it takes to graduate there. We get people that read at 4th grade and they're here. Now, are you going to read this? I think the Kurzweil will read you all day. If you cannot understand the concepts and be able to apply them, you're probably not going to make it. It happens. Because the community college will open the door. Anyone can come here. So I have my own personal philosophy. And then who comes here and wants to work hard should leave here with something. Be careful, the word is something. And as we go, you're going to see what something could be. Okay. Assignments are noticeably of higher quality than classroom assignments and exams. That means someone at home helped them or did it for them. So all you can really do is say, look, this is written so nicely, but I know this isn't how you normally write. They have to understand how important it is that they learn how to do this. Because see, when the test comes, they have to be able to do it. So it's nice that mom helps you, but you need to do it. And then if mom helps you, she's got to explain to you why it should be written like this, and maybe not like this. But you have to understand how it should be, because you have to be able to do this when the test comes. And if you can't do it on the test, you're not going to. And if you have that meeting with the parent and the student, if it comes up, you can explain that. We see there's higher quality in the homework than what we see in the classroom in the ICs. Mm-hmm.
So you really strongly feel that CAS students shouldn't be graded on a different rubric
Nope.
anyway?
You can't, because the college doesn't embrace that. They're graded the same as anyone else. So it's good for the parent to understand. You may help them, but they have to be able to understand it and why it's written that way or how to do it like that. Because it's going to be on a test, they won't be taking it home. And they have to be able to do that to pass the class. Okay, so students who work hard and unable to grasp the concepts. It's important for you to be honest with them. Okay? If a student, you say that they failed half the semester, they're not going to make this, it might be best the student withdraw. You can suggest it. They don't have to withdraw, but you can suggest, I think that it'd be better you withdraw from this class because I don't think sometimes they get enough points to pass. And if you know of a class that they might be successful in, you can suggest it. If you don't know of one, then they should just come and see CAS, because counselors don't get the history we get. They don't know what the history is of that student. We can't share that. So counselors don't always know what is back there in their history, where their strengths or their weaknesses are. We get all that psychological testing that show us, oh yeah, its processing is slow or whatever it is. We strongly discourage sympathy grades. And people feel bad because the student worked really hard. And we answer that they work very hard and they can't get it. But when we give them a passing grade, we said you did it. You met the goals for this class and you pass. So you go to the next class. But no, they don't get a sympathy grade. And then their parents are wondering, how could he not pass? I mean, he passed this other class. There's nothing wrong over there. So what's going on here? But it also gives them false hope that they're doing something that they're not able to measure up to. So, and we've had this here in the past. And we had a student got sympathy grades in a certain curriculum, and then when they had to do rhetoric, they didn't pass. And they couldn't get to 101 to be able to get that degree because they could not do the work. Now the parents are, what do you mean? He's got A's and B's and everything. And now you're saying he can't? But you know what? We took his money. We wasted all of his time. And in the end, he's going to end up going somewhere for job training. He could have done it without all the stress. He's stressed out all the time. Oh, I have to pass, oh, I hope I did okay. Oh, that's sad to see. He didn't get any further because then he wasn't employable either. Because everyone could see he could not do the job. So when he got a job, he had it for a few months and he was let go. So you know what? Cut to the chase. Let him know, this is really hard for you. I think there must be something else that we have here for you. But maybe accounting isn't it. Or maybe nursing isn't it. Or whatever it is. So you help them get on a track by being honest with them sooner than later. Because in the end, if they truly are that deficient, getting them to a better track sooner, they're going to get where they belong. Bless you. So they'll get on a track where they're going to be successful, and it's going to help them get a job. And some of these people, if they're coming in and reading at 4th grade, you know what? The lot in life might be, not always, some of them surprise themselves and us. It might be that they work a little job and they collect SSI, Social Security Disability. In between the two, They can be independent, they can live on their own maybe, have their own apartment. The goal them and their family has is they're one day self-sufficient, because when I'm gone, he needs to be, she needs to be. And that's the goal. So we want to get them to where they can be successful right away, instead of letting them sit here 2 and 3 and 4 years, and then still going back to where they would have if we've been honest right in the beginning with them. And it makes you feel bad, I know, because they work so hard and they try so hard and they're not making it. And we feel just as bad for them, but we don't want to waste their time and their money. And then all the heartache every time they fail. It's like, I failed again, I failed again. This student took the same class 4 times. And after the 5th time, then this family finally didn't make them take it again. Okay. So take recording lectures. It is an accommodation for some students. They cannot share it with others. They cannot put it online or any of that. They might be able to use any kind of device. So it might be a phone, it might be a computer. And so you have to say, well, I don't allow phones in my class. So it would be to your best advantage to put it in your syllabus and to make an announcement say, I don't allow phones in the class unless you have some special circumstance. See me if you do, and then if you have some certain circumstance, then I'll let you do that. So that way the other students understand, well, it's got to be something special, otherwise I can't use my phone and be on the phone. But some people use that as a recording device for the silence that they spoke about. So absences. The students have the same policy as everybody else. Okay, so if there's 3 absences and you're out the door, then that's what it is. Okay, but we have some students that have a medical condition. They're going for treatment, and it's got to be a condition that really warrants treatment that they've got to go to on a regular basis. So we have this medically excused absence as an accommodation. When they have that, they have to let us know, hey, I have an appointment on next Thursday. I have to be in class. Or they wake up that day and from chemo, they're very sick. They're not coming. They have to leave a message at CAS. We make a record of that. So if you want to check on it and say, hey, does Mary Jones have excused medical absence on this date? We'll look and see, yep, or nope, then that's a regular absence. If they don't call in, it's regular absence. But it doesn't mean they're going to pass. It's not a guaranteed ticket you're passing this class. So if they cannot keep up with the work, they cannot pass the exams, they might not pass the class. So if it gets to that point, you might say to them, I think we better get a medical withdrawal because you've had to be absent so much. They can get a medical withdrawal, and for financial aid, that looks better than just withdrawal. So it doesn't hurt them as badly with the financial aid if it's a medical withdrawal. So if it's warranted, they may be able to be given an I grade, and then they have more time to complete the work, and then have it turned into a grade. So that's a possibility too. Okay, so students become ill in class. So this is passed down from our campus nurse. So if they're mildly sick, they're just sick, they just don't feel good, you can tell, why don't you go to the nurse? Okay. But if it's a student that feels that they might have a seizure, they're going to have a seizure, or something worse, leave them right there. So students who have a seizure condition, we tell them, tell your faculty that you have this, and if you're not feeling good, you're going to raise your hand and put your head on your desk. That tells the faculty, oh, this person's sick. So you give your class a break, and you call 911. You don't have to call the nurse, you call 911. They call the nurse, they bring the nurse with them. Students will say to you, well, here, I have this letter, or this card, this whatever. I don't want an ambulance called. You tell them it's not up to me. You're sick in my class, I need to call for the nurse to come.
You call the police department?
You just call 911. Yep, and they will send the campus nurse over. So you just tell them, I have to call, the nurse will come, and the nurse will decide. What will the nurse decide? She will call an ambulance. Why is that? Because we cannot tell by looking at that person, is that a seizure or is that a stroke? And the campus is not willing to take the chance. What if it was a stroke? Now you're wasting minutes away, and they may not regain what that stroke has caused. So the campus will not make that determination. And I go, yeah, but it's expensive every time someone calls the ambulance for me. I know, but they're not willing to take the chance of something bad happening to you. And some seizures are life-threatening, others are not. But how do we know? So that's what the nurse will do. I just tell them, if you get sick, I'm going to call, the nurse will come. So, and that's not your decision or ours. And that's the campus policy. So, you should refrain from talking to students about their accommodations in front of other students, because they don't want their peers to know many times. They feel different already. They don't want to be different. You can make the announcement in class and say, hey, if anyone in here has a medical condition that I should know about that could impair your learning in my class, please see me alone and let me know. They'll maybe remind someone, that, oh yeah, I should tell them, you know, I have seizures or something, or I'm prone to them, or I could. Usually they're pretty controlled when they get here, but every now and then something happens and someone might have one. So I would definitely try not to guess their disability or go, oh, I know, you know what, you're dyslexic, I know what it is. Students really don't like that. And you can't ask them what it is, so it's not wise to try and do the guessing game. Okay, if they don't have a card, like I had said, we have the Kurzweil. You can send them to us. We can do the investigation to see. So Project Achieve, that's a program that the CAS has outside of the CAS. It's called Project Achieve. It is an employment skills program. So if you come here and you have low IQ and low achievement, we will offer that to you. You don't have to be in it, but you can. Oh, but maybe you can take some credit classes, but you know, maybe you have some behaviors that needs a little work. Maybe you're autistic and you have some of these behaviors that kind of get in your way socially, so you might want to be in Achieve. So Achieve is kind of nice. It's for some people, it's a place to start. We're not saying you're going to do that and that's all you're going to get here at Triton, because see, when you're done with Achieve, you might be ready to take a credit class. Maybe you could get a Triton certificate in something. It happens, we've had students do it. So we're not saying that that's all you get here. But it's a place to start, and you can get that Project Achieve certificate, and you have to be taking one class. So there's these online Ed2Go classes. They're called Ed2Go. It's online, and they're classes that you would take toward this Project Achieve. And it's a non-credit certificate you get. And then also while you're in there, like, oh, I always want hospitality, but I cannot pass that food sanitation safety class. It's a hard class. It is hard. So I go, well, you know what, Project Achieve, we got hospitality. It's not the same, and they're going to get a different kind of job in hospitality, because in order to be a chef, a cook, a baker, you have to have that by the state of Illinois. But there are other jobs in hospitality that you can have. And that makes you happy, you like that, wonderful. Maybe you get through that, and then you go and try it again, and maybe you are successful. Because see, in Achieve, you work on your academics. So we use the TABE workbook, reading, writing, math, and spelling. They do the whole book. So they can be in Achieve, it's self-paced, and they can be in Achieve a year. Some of them sit there 2 and 3 years until they're done, and then they get that certificate. Some go through it quickly. It's all set student pace, so they can work as quickly or slow as they want. But they have to attend the program twice a week, and then there's staff there that help drive them through the program. So they have to score at least 215 on the new reading placement test, because we're on the new one now. We get, you know, the placement test has changed. So they have to score at least that, which means they're literate, 6th grade. You have to be at least reading around that level, because everything in Project Achieve is on Blackboard. So you have to be able to read to get through the lessons. So we had a person who doesn't meet that requirement, and they're reading at 3rd and 4th grade, and well, they can take non-credit classes here. And we could also refer them to places that do job training. So maybe, you know, a lot of times the parents say, well, he just wants the college experience. Okay, well, he has non-credit classes, and that would be a place to start. We always tell them, take that, it was called Success in College Class, now we call it College Writing as a thing, something like this. But anyways, that's the first class we always tell people to take. If you can do that class, then maybe you can do others. If you can't do that, take some non-credit classes first. Get used to being here. Beef up your skills, be an achiever, work on your academics, if you can at least get to 6th grade reading. If not, take some non-credit classes and go for some job training. They'll tell you where to go. These are state programs. It's no cost. It could help them. So all students are required to follow the student code of conduct. All students. So if they're disruptive in class, if they're threatening to you or threatening to other students, there's this thing and it's called incident report. And you're not being mean, but you're filling that out so that way they can be helped. Someone will address these behaviors. You can't do that. They have to be able to follow the rules. Remember, when you fill that incident report and the dean reads it, that's a first offense. I don't care if they did it 8 other times. First time you filled out the report, and you know what? The behavior got worse, didn't it? They have to be able to follow the same rules as everyone. So for the safety of you and the other students, and even themselves, that those behaviors have to be addressed. Sometimes they're very innocent. One day a police officer came to my office and said, "You need to come with me to talk to a student." Okay. So he says, "This student, yeah, he keeps bothering this girl. She's afraid." Okay, so we went, and I said, "Oh, this student, he's on the spectrum." I said, "Well, he's going to be afraid of you. Can you sit at the end of the hall while I get him out of class and talk to him?" Okay. So I said, "Oh, this girl. Oh, yeah, I know her. Yeah. Well, are you friends with her?" "No, I know her, and I like talking to her. She's really nice, and she's pretty, and I like to talk to her." I said, "Oh, if you stand in the hall and look at her in her other class." I said, "That scares her." "Oh, I don't want to scare her, but I just like to see her." "Oh, and then you went to where she works?" "Yeah, I wanted to talk to her." She thought he was stalking her, but he wasn't. He wanted to get to know her. It was innocent, but he didn't understand that was, you shouldn't do that. So he was, "I'll never bother her anymore. I don't want to scare her. She's nice." So you kind of feel bad for him because he didn't know, but he has to learn that. So we help them to understand. So, sometimes it's hard. You feel bad for them. But they have to follow the same guidelines as everyone else. So sometimes we have people that they just don't behave because they don't. And others, it's an innocent something. But everyone here has to. So everyone can learn. If it's disruptive in the class or threatening to other people, they can't learn, right? So keep in mind, we are all here to provide students with the tools and the knowledge they need to be successful to reach their full potential. It kind of goes along with my personal thoughts, right? If everyone who comes here wants to work should get something, even if it's non-credit classes and job training somewhere else, even if it comes to that. But we're here to support faculty as well as students. We're not just here to advocate for students. Sometimes we can advocate for students that, "Oh, do you think we can work this out?" But sometimes there's nothing to work out. They have to do the same homework as everyone. They have to turn things in. We have students that had some kind of emotional issues or whatever, or on the spectrum or what have you, or maybe speech problems because of a stroke or something. And they were embarrassed to use their speech to communicate in class. But part of class points was class participation. So we sometimes speak with faculty, okay, how can we work this out? And some students, it's just a matter of, "Oh, I'm shy about that." Okay, so we tell them, see, they like numbers. They do well with the numbers. So I tell them, well, each day you're in class for the next week, you're going to think of one thing to say that's related to what they're talking about. You're going to put that part in there. And so you're going to raise your hand and say one thing. And then the next week, when you're really good at that, we're going to do it twice. So that way you get your points, because you have to get these points. So we explain it. And then we've had success with students learning how to do that. And okay, I can do it. But we do have students that, their speech is really very hard to understand because of a stroke or something like that. And sometimes we work out something else with that. So, but we're here for you. if you haven't worked with us too much, you know that if you call, we are there. You can talk to me if I'm not in. You can leave me a message, or you can talk with my coordinator, Jean Gorman. She's here until June. We have a lot of people retiring off this campus, and it's sad. I'm going to be here, so I'll still be here, but you can certainly call us, leave us a message. We will call you back. If you want me fast, the phone is better. I get emails. I can't read them all and respond to every single little one every day. So it's hard for me to keep up with all of that, but the phone, it blinks at me and it goes, yeah, I got to answer this and get that call back. So the phone is way better for me, but we're there to help you. Sometimes faculty say, you know, I've got to meet with the student and tell them that they're not going to make it and they should withdraw. Would you attend that meeting? I will. If you want that, I'm happy to attend it with you, or we're having an issue in the class. I think we can solve it, but I would like you to be there while I explain this to the student, or can you help me explain to them, they really shouldn't do this? You know, so we've had to do a lot of weird things. A diabetic that, it was a 15-minute class and they had to bring like a meal. Like, no, I know all about this. You can eat before the class. You do not need to bring your meal into the class. So we had to work with this and say, you can't be doing this. But we know about diabetes. We know that, you know, if you're even a brittle diabetic, you do not need to be eating for 50 minutes in a class. You know? So we work things out. We help you, but we're there to assist you as well as the students who are not just here saying, hey, you got to bend this and bend that and change this and change that for a student, because they have to meet the same requirements as everyone else. The accommodations are there to level that playing field so they can work to their best ability, but not to change the curriculum for them, because we can't. And then if we were to do that, what happens when they go to the university? They're not going to have that. So, and then of course, the student who gets the A and didn't earn it, the other students worked just as hard or harder and didn't get that A because they're on a different grading scale. Doesn't work. So, questions? Comments? Mm-hmm.
I was curious, how would you handle a situation in which you're in class and you have a student who's talking to herself or himself all the time and disrupting the class?
Yeah, I might walk up to him and say, and that might do it, it may not. But after class, say, oh, I want to talk to you for a minute and tell them, you know, I don't know if you realize that you're talking to yourself and it's making noise. The other students cannot hear me. So you have to be careful not to do that in class. And then if it doesn't work, you're going to see us. Or you write the incident report. See, the first time they get an incident report, they're not going to say to the student, we're kicking you out of here, you can't come back here. But they're going to work with them. They may call us. I always say, if you're going to do an incident report on one of my students, if you let me know, it helps. Because the dean's eventually going to call and say, hey, do you have a student? What about him? Well, if I already know, I go, oh yeah, I know there's a problem over here in this class. We'll work with them. We're going to try and get them so they can be appropriate in the class. But if they're doing that, it's not appropriate because it's really interrupting your train of thought, but it's also keeping other students from maybe hearing you or concentrating. So yes, but it needs to be addressed, you know. And sometimes, like I said, we are an open door policy. Students have the right to come here and take any class. We try and advise to start with the, who's that class called? It was Success of College. It changed it to the college experience, I think that's what they call it now. And we say start there because it gives you an idea of what college classes are like and what's going to be expected of you. And when they're not, you know, we're going to redirect them into a path that's going to be good for them. That they, and the outcome actually happens. That they get skills, they get a job, they're somewhere. And even if it's non-credit classes here and job training elsewhere, or our job employment skills class works, at least they're going where they're supposed to be. Their goal is in life to be able to work and take care of themselves one day. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have, so I teach music. I teach like a mix of like music classes and then also like applied lessons. And I have some students who I think are like on the spectrum to some degree. And I have one student who I know is in like a, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he goes to Leiden High School like 5 days a week and he takes a few classes here.
It's a transition program.
Okay.
So what they do is They have the right to stay in high school until age 22 and age out. They're not really ready to leave high school because they really aren't, academically, they're not prepared to leave yet. So they get to be in transition. The transition no longer works in academics. It works in employment skills. And they keep them until they're gonna age out. Right around the time they're getting to age out, the high school